Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, TRICERATON, Infantryman, and ROADKILL Rodney. Plural. There are two. This counts as a 3-pack. There are technically 3 characters here. It's mostly Dinosaur Guy plus accessories, but it's still one of my more preferable packs from NECA, I think. This is a fun one, so let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands to the very top of his head, because why not? About 19 centimeters, which makes him pretty close to about 7.5 inches. And let's go ahead and just measure the robots. Also, these guys are both, there's 2 of the same, so it's not like we need to do 2 separate things for them. From wheel to the head, it's about 3.5 inches, which I can't make that joke. 9 centimeters. So about 9 centimeters to the top of the head. Let's actually go ahead and get the robots out of the way first. Again, we have 2 of them. Stop casting shadows, bro. This part is an accessory. We get one of those for each guy, which is essential for them to stand up, so to speak. They cannot stand without their little poofs. And the poofs are honestly not great at holding them up. So, I don't know. I think a clear stand would have been good to have in there, which we don't have, or I didn't see it because it's clear. We're going to set one aside because we only need one. We're going to pop this off because we don't need that for the rest. And now, as far as aesthetics go for this guy, it's painted very clean. It's almost white with black line work and gray and stuff, and it's all very clean. No issues there. The red eye thingy, nicely done. No problems. The wheel itself does actually spin. I'm just going to do it all in once because this guy doesn't actually warrant 3 separate ratings. So the wheel, it does spin, and we have this. So they could have just given us like a little clear square with a peg in it just to hold them up, but they didn't do that. The arms do rotate. Arms, I use that term loosely. And they're bendy. They're bendy, so that's pretty cool. They're not the best bendies we've ever seen, but they are bendy. All right, and then as far as this part goes, it opens up. This is very nicely done. And we get a little hinged zapper thingy, which is very nicely done. No issues with those joints. If you whack it from the side, it'll break for sure. But if you just handle it normally, all the joints have very good tolerances. No problems there at all. Nice little feature. Good job, NECA. That's very well executed. Love that. Probably because they didn't use PVC. PVC doesn't work well for that kind of stuff, as we've seen on the Predators. But on here, this is really, really good. So he looks really good. That's what kind of functionality he has. The top of his head does pop off. It's very difficult to do to get that actually off. But here are the options we have. If you pop that off, you get 2 of each of these things. You can replace it with this, so it looks like there's a sigh going into it. I assume that's what that's for. Or doesn't look like it. You put a sigh in there from Raphael, and then that'll be that. So you get that. You get one of those for each of these guys, and you also get one of these drill heads for each of these guys. And that's pretty cool. No issues there. That's nice. Good little detail. And then the last thing, no, not the last thing, second to last thing, is we get 2 of these. So you can either give each of them a long one, or put 2 long ones on them, or do whatever you want. It's not bendy, but it is soft. So you do get that, 2 of those. And then the last thing, we get 2 of these also, which is just a little pile of rock. And what you do is you pop his neck and head off, and then he can stick in like that. And I guess, I don't remember these guys very much, so maybe they drill through the ground and you're supposed to put the drill thing on there. I don't know, but you get that. So 2 of everything I just showed you, 1 for each of the little robots. And like I said, it's kind of like an accessory, but it's a nice little pack. Like, lots of versatility, lots of options, funness. It's going to be the kind of thing. Things like this are good for display if you're displaying these turtles, because then they kind of fill in spaces between bigger characters, so you get that. All right, so that's pretty cool. We're not going to rate it. All right, let's go back to this guy. Aesthetically speaking, it's very bright and colorful, and it looks wonderful. Very nicely painted. Could be a little cleaner where they painted this cream on top of that gray, but it's not bad. And the purples and pinkish color and all the red and black and all there's 2 tones of orange. I wouldn't have minded a little bit more variation between those 2. With the right lighting, it's very hard to tell there are 2 colors. They're there, and it's fine. And he's very bright from the back. His orange is super bright, and even from the front, the duller one is still pretty bright. Face is very well sculpted and painted. Looks like it came right out of the cartoon. Very, very nicely done. Clean paintwork, clean sculpt. No issues with the aesthetic at all. We do have some reused parts throughout. It doesn't look like it. It's not bad. I don't know if he's supposed to have the alligator tail, but he does. Yeah, it's fine. Aesthetically speaking, it's good. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It is pretty darn good. As for accessories, we have the 2 loose hands that come on in the package. Then we have 2 gripping hands and 1 shooty hand. And then we get a rifle, which he doesn't hold very well. It'll sit in his hand, but there's no tension on it. Then we get like an SMG type gun type thing. I remember the little blue version of this that came with the original toy. You guys remember that? Anyway, that also doesn't fit in his hand very well. And then we get the big rifle with the cool paint job on the front that makes it look like it's glowing hot. That actually does fit in his hand pretty well. So, decent batch of accessories, nothing crazy. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. That's pretty good. And now we can talk about the articulation, which I haven't tested too much on this guy. I just whipped him out for the review. So let's find out. Ooh, he looks up and down. Feels like a double ball peg in there. Doesn't look down so far as it's coming down from being up. Doesn't really go down at all. Side to side, a little bit of an angle. The double ball peg works nicely. You have some limitation from this fat head, but that should be sufficient. And I've heard from most of you guys that it's not like you're posing these things a whole lot. They're basically just for nostalgia to go on your shelf. And that works more than well enough for that. I didn't think it was even going to work that well. For the shoulders, we do have our full rotation. The hinge is not tight, it just doesn't go any farther, but that's probably all right. We do have our bicep swivel, which does bind in either direction, but you get some out of it. Double jointed elbow. That's plenty of range. That's really good. No problems there. It's not too tight. It's definitely tight, but not a problem. And then for the wrists, of course, we have a peg swivel and then a hinge. The hands are only the paler of the 2 colors. That's a little bit irritating for me. I'd like to see some of the bright orange on there, but it's no big deal, obviously. For the torso, all I can assume is there's a ball peg in there because there's a little wiggle and rotation, but that's all you're going to be able to do. There's too much plastic. That's it. For the hips, we have the ball socket hips, ball peg hips. Going out to the side, you get plenty of range. They're not floppy, but they are very loose. This kind of hip is difficult to do. They haven't quite worked out the kinks yet. It's very loose. Going forward, forget about it. His diaper is way too full. And going back, there's no range. You do get a thigh swivel in there, double jointed knee. I do not like the fact that he has clothing wrinkles on his skin, by the way. I just noticed that. That's very irritating. I understand the reuse of parts, but that's very, very irritating. Knees get better than 90. That should be more than enough, especially considering his hips are very limited. And for the ankles, they go pretty far back and far enough forward that you can stand him and balance him. And then you get a crooked ankle rocker. So, as usual, nothing really impressive with this guy. The neck works pretty well, but otherwise it's fairly basic and just enough to get the job done. So, 6 out of 10 for articulation. Oh, the tail. It's the same tail we've seen before, so it'll move a little bit. This one was easy to pop on, not like the last one I reviewed. But yeah, it's what you expect. It's not particularly posable. It's going to look really good on a shelf. NECA nailed the styling. And that's what they were going for. So, final verdict on this guy. If you're buying it knowing that it's all about the look rather than posability and engineering and that kind of thing, I'll give it an 8. For the aesthetics, they did a really good job. If you weigh heavily onto the articulation, you can knock it down to a 7. But it's still fine. You get a decent amount of stuff in the pack. The 2 ROADKILL Rodneys and all the accessories and stuff. It's a fun pack. I think as a 2-pack, I will still give it... I'll give it a 7. I really do like it subjectively. Objectively, still a lot of reused parts for this guy, and I'm sure we're going to see more of them. And then these guys are 2 of the same exact thing with a bunch of accessories that are the same exact thing. Like, I know that it cost them a lot, and I'm not saying they're charging too much, but obviously they have to charge that, and we have to pay it. Is it worth it, is my point for us as collectors. I'm not saying it's overpriced, I'm just saying it may not be that desirable as a collector. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully you guys get that. So as a 2-pack, I'll give it a 7. This guy alone, I'd give an 8. Whatever. You guys can use that information. Decide what you will. Give it your own rating. I don't care. That's what you should do anyway. These are for information purposes, guys. I'm not telling you what to buy. I'm giving you the information in my recommendation. That's all. Alright guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, give it a thumbs up. And click subscribe with that thumb, because I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.